Friends, uh, I'm going to start a series of lectures on managerial sociology. My aim is to help the students of management, mostly MBA students, and also the students of sociology to take interest in an applied area like managerial sociology, sociology applied to management. Now, friends, I will do this by sharing certain uh, slides, and I will try to finish this in about 30-35 minutes. And later on, when you are watching the video, you can read, you can get more information from reading my slides. As such, in India, there is no subject like managerial sociology, and I intend to start one. This managerial sociology can be divided into two broad fields, and I call them sociology of management and sociology in management. I am more interested in sociology in management and in helping the managers take better decisions with the knowledge of sociology. I will make a distinction between the two, and the whole presentation is to argue that managers can benefit from study of sociology and from having a more integrated and holistic perspective, combining Max Weber's rationality, sociology of emotions, and structural symbolic interactions. 35 minutes may not be sufficient to throw light on everything, but it's a beginning. Maybe in the future lectures, I can throw more light on each of these concepts. So I begin. I wish to talk to you about management as the science of setting goals, planning, organizing, decision making in business, and political and civil society organizations. So I'm including civil society organizations, community organizations, political parties also in the ambit of management. Then transition management means management in changing circumstances, and the relationship between management and sociology, as I said, is divided into sociology of management and managerial sociology or sociology in management. And I will also little bit talk about management ideologies and managerial fashion. Friends, if the management is about developing and executing business plans, managerial sociology is to be seen as a branch of applied sociology. Now, so far, management studies at most places cover economics, social policy, business, ethics, and social psychology, because they have to talk about or focus on leadership and motivation, but not sociology. As the scope of business is widening, there is a need to incorporate new insights from sociology into all aspects of management processes. And this sociology, to me, includes both quantitative sociology, qualitative sociology, Weberian sociology, postmodern sociology, symbolic interactionism, and in a more recent concept in fashion, structural symbolic interactionism. There is a two-way interaction between sociology and management, and the sociology in management or manager sociology that I propose to develop is to help decision makers take better decisions in a social context. This should help in market research, advertising, customer profiling, or creating a database of customers, and consultancy for governments and individual clients. I give you a number of references. Those interested in deep study can go through some or all of these references. So these are the references. The sociology of management is critical. It's sort of Marxian. It's based on Marxian critique of industry in capitalist society. I'm not interested in that. Those who are interested in this, for them, it provides a critical approach to business. It links stages of development of society with industry and the exploitative nature of social relations. It talks about rise of industrial capitalism, Fordism, Taylorism, further development of capital and the need for a new class of professionals, collective or pattern bargaining, and disorganized rather capitalism, postmodern society, complexity, and adaptive systems. So the term management ideology is used for theories and models of management, often present themselves as scientific, rational, and apolitical descriptions of and prescriptions for the management of organization. So these people are those who talk about management ideology, say that management has an ideology which supports the interests of the capitalist class. One can certainly apply Marxian and Karl Mannheim's framework of ideology and utopia for that. Some people also talk of managerial fashions which keep on changing with time. And to give you an example, McKinsey's dynamic management theory or Subhash Sharma's corporate RISI model are currently in fashion. This dynamic management is part of study of management in postmodern phase, and Subhash Sharma's corporate RISI model is relevant for those who want to indigenize managerial theories. And to quote, theories of management often present them as scientific, apolitical, and rational descriptions of and prescriptions for the management of organizations. Then need to apply these models is justified by their purported efficiency and effectiveness in solving various managerial problems, but actually they all serve the interests of the capitalist class. This is what it means. This is a very powerful area of managerial studies, but it does not help the managers in taking practical decisions. I am more interested in what will help the managers in taking practical decisions. So for me, managerial sociology covers sociological requirements of the managers, understanding of organizational climate, social, legal, and political environment of business, market research, human relations, motivation, job satisfaction, conflict resolution, and project implementation and evaluation. Learning from the theories and generalizations in sociology. The best organizational decisions in different social situations, how to take the best or optimum organizational decisions in different social situations. What are sources of data, secondary, primary, obtrusive, unobtrusive, and what are different methodologies and methods available to sociologists which can be utilized by management. Then analytical tools of research, operations research, parametric, non-parametric research, and semi-parametric statistical models and network analysis. Now, why do we need sociology of management? Because there is a new condition that needs understanding the full implications of change. There is a move towards labor market flexibility. or rise of contractual labor. There is a declining importance of trade unions, workers' voices, and collective bargaining, which made the production costly and which hampers their interest in the age of globalization or in competition with other global and national industries. Reducing the significance of union decisions on management, reduce shock effects, that is positive impact of urbanization through technology improvement, more formalized labor relations, higher wages, improved capital labor ratio, tighter supervision and control, and increased efficiency conscious. Now all these things have been reduced. There is a move towards quality of work and living rather than standard of living. Money is not everything. Quality of work and quality of living, they are more important. And quality of living is a very comprehensive thing, which includes a lot of social, economic, psychological, environmental, ecological, institutional factors, including mental health. The collective bargaining weakening as a result of free flow of labor and capital, as a result of processes of globalization, or with advanced capitalism in place, or with postmodernization, no matter what terms you use, the collective bargaining is weakening. It has both good and bad aspects, maybe bad aspects for the workers and good aspects for the industry or capital. And there are other climate issues also. Climate means external. Rising competition among businesses based on high productivity and high wages. Rising economic inequality in most countries, within as well as between countries. Growing insecurity among workers, identity politics, and resistance to liberal trade and immigration policies. New forms of polarization between new winners and losers, and new linkages between diverse sectors, religion, NGOs, economic interests, political players, and impact of pandemics like COVID-19. Friends, the way I conceptualize management, it is not confined only to manufacturing industry. Management is required everywhere. Even in the household framework, you require management. There, you can be a good housekeeper, you can be a bad housekeeper. Community organization, civil society organization, then management of service sector, education, insurance, health. All these, all kinds of human activities require understanding of relationship between managerial approaches and society, so that in a given social setup, in a given cultural context, and in a given political context, or in a given legal background, right or the best or the most optimum decisions can be taken in the interest of the activity, industry or service or household or civil society organization. Now, there are some issues in business sociology. Market potential of a commodity produced by an industry or a service organization that depends on size and composition of the population. An example of this, that with the aging of population or with completion of demographic transition in most countries, there is a demand for health services or geriatric services among the elderly. And a lot of organizations have recently came into being. They have been created, they have been managed, they have been expanded, or constant reforms are going on, and legal, social, political thinking about how to provide the best geriatric care to elderly population at home or in hospice, or this itself is a big issue, and there are so many aspects of healthcare among the elderly people. So active demand depends on size and composition of the population. Obviously, another example that with demographic transition, now the size of children's population is shrinking. So in the future, demand for primary schools, nurseries, and as time advances, secondary school, post-secondary schools will fall, and demand for those services which are required by the adults or by the labor or by the middle-aged people will expand further. There is also a purchasing power of the people. The population may be large, but if they do not have purchasing power, then this does not help the industry. Buying preferences, which can be determined by religion and culture. Here, this A, size and composition of the population depends on demographic trends. B, or purchasing power of the people depends on growth and distribution. C, or buying preferences depend on culture. And each of them, that is A, B, and C, have a static aspect as well as a dynamic aspect. All of them interact with social structure and social context, and therefore industries or industry experts who are dealing with the market potential have to look into what is happening to social structure and social context, and the size, composition of population, purchasing power, buying preferences for them appear to be the mediating factors or intermediate variables. Social context, social structure affects the demand, affects the productivity, affects the job satisfaction, and so many other things through the intermediate variables of A, B, C. Social structure also determines the other aspects of management, such as company policies, human relations, effectiveness of different leadership styles, communication process, interaction between formal and informal organization of work, diversity planning, and legal and political aspects of business. We need to talk about all these things in detail if we want to understand the subject matter of managerial sociology or sociology in management. I'm not interested in sociology of management. Rather, I leave that work at the moment to critics of capitalism or critics of postmodernization. To quote J.H. Smith, sociologists can contribute to management studies by focusing on the following: differences between formal and informal organization. Very important difference today. There is a rise of informal work and informal organization. Formal organization is defined by the legal framework of the country. But most of the activities, like most of the agricultural activities, most of the small scale industries, household industry activities, service activities, health activities go on in the informal sector. And there is informalization of work in formal organizations also through contract labor, which is taking place in our country in a big way right now. The effect of social norms on behavior in industry, the relation between participation and subsequent behavior. The relation here, participation means participation of workers in management decisions. It is of great consequence to productivity, satisfaction, efficiency, and other factors, outcome variables in an industrial setup. The relation between forms of behavior developed by industrial organizations and forms of behavior in the wider society. It's not only that decisions in industry are influenced by society, or to make industrial decisions more effective, you have to know about society. But what goes on within industries or within formal organizations also affect the social structure of society. Capitalism has affected the social structure of society by making Max Weber's instrumental rationality penetrate all aspects of decision making in life, including religion. The structure and function of the factory as a social institution. Subsequent lectures will focus on them. Definition, aim and scope of sociology in management, formal, informal organizations, ideologies, fashion, Indian society and their implications for work, sociological tools, management data and analysis, ethics, spirituality. So you can expect all these things in a series of lectures by me on managerial sociology. I think I intend to give 10 lectures on this subject. Now, what kind of sociology data are required depends on what kind of firm you have. Is it ethnocentric, which aims at the national market only, or it is polycentric, which aims at individual or international market, or it is regiocentric, aiming at Indian, means some region, Indian region. India itself is a large subcontinent, so Indian region, Asian region, or developing countries, including Latin America and Africa, identifying what is common to all of them and developing plans to suit the common interest. Or you have geocentric orientation. Many firms evolve from the national firm to multinational firms eventually. The relevance of sociological data or sociological relevance, sociological information. Many multinational companies like Motorola, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Nokia, Vodafone, Walmart, they struggled in India. They came to India with a big hope, but they struggled in India because they took the largeness of population size too seriously. Without looking at the size of potential consumers, middle class who could afford to buy their products. So size alone is not enough. Composition is also enough. Composition is also important. B, because India did not have such a big size of middle class which could accept or afford the products of Motorola, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Nokia, Vodafone, or Walmart. So, and these companies took into consideration only the total population of India. So that was a big obstacle in their growth in our country. B, did not appreciate the religious sensibility of India. So religious, cultural sensibilities of people must also be recognized. So this point says that number alone is not enough. Religious and cultural sensibilities must also be recognized. And here lies the importance of sociology. See, applied Western motivational ideologies may not work in India. We will talk about motivational theories later. But most of the motivational theories or ideologies have come from the West. They have not worked in India. What works in India then? That is the question. And we need to understand what will work in Indian situation. And in India, again, India is not a homogeneous or monolithic society. Culture of India varies from one part of the country to another. So what will work in the Northeast, what will work in, say, Tripura, may not work in Tamil Nadu or Andhra Pradesh or in Telangana. Local culture, local religion have to be considered. And D, underestimated the impact of social institutions and corruption, because they did not have the same kind of social institutions in their country. And lastly, could not handle the volatile political situation. Actually, this is one of the biggest problems of India, affecting all domains of activities, that we have a volatile political situation, very volatile political situation, and different parties ruling in different states, conflicts often emerging between the state and the center, and so on, and uncertainties about the future. On the other hand, if you look at the success of Patanjali products, tremendous success. Patanjali has achieved tremendous success as a company in the recent past. It lies in creating an atmosphere conducive to revival of Indian Vedic culture and Indian health sciences using the Gandhian or Rishi model of management, trusteeship. So many things. Patanjali was helped by a combination of so many things. Baba Ramdev started with a demonstration by creating people's interest in yoga practices. And from yoga, he went to Ayurveda, then to other products. And today he has all kinds of products which are quite successful. And from a local market to national market, and from national market to international market, global market, Patanjali is a very successful company. We need more researches on Patanjali to understand what will work in Indian situation. And it combines Indian health sciences, Ayurveda, yoga, and also the Gandhian model of trusteeship. Baba Ramdev keeps on telling that he does not possess anything. He does not have a bank account. And in Patanjali, Patanjali profits will be used for the furtherance of societal interests, not for promoting interests of shareholders or the owners of the companies. This also combined the Rishi model there. And another concept in India, I wish to draw your attention to, is Jugaad. While Jugaad is a well accepted concept in India, MNCs like Motorola, McDonald's, I began by giving their example why they failed. They found it difficult to justify Jugaads in their own country, and something which will not be permitted by the legal framework or social framework of their country cannot be practiced in other countries. There are so many social factors affecting business. You can, I have made a list of them: size and age distribution of population, urbanization, social stratification, and so on. Leisurely, you can see at all these points. For me, the scope of managerial sociology includes not only the industrial sector, but also service sector, civil society, political organizations, socio-ecological management, environmental movements, theories, expert knowledge, and taken for granted knowledge, and postmodern management practices under uncertainty and complexity. Postmodernization is creating some new challenges, and there will be one lecture on postmodernization. So we need a new way of conceptualizing goal attainment in business. Goals of the business, goals of the people. Both the things are equally important. What do business wants? Profit. People, what do people want? They want to satisfy their needs, or they want to act in accordance with the norms of their times, or they want, what kind of rationality they have? They have instrumental rationality of Max Weber, or they have religious rationality, or they have part rationality or traditional rationality. That will decide what are their objectives. Objectives of the business, objectives of the people, and what will ultimately lead to sustainability of business, adaptability to changing circumstances, and in case of people, happiness, creativity, innovation, and realization of full human potential. Now, when we talk of sociology, we normally include Emile Durkheim, August Comte, quantitative sociology, science, Max Weber, Herbert Spencer, Karl Marx, but we need a new kind of sociology which also gives due importance to qualitative research. Some of my students have worked on gender, and they have found how managerialism strengthens the gender bias in industry, and how lack of diversity affects the business interests of industries. So we need to work on these things. And one of these aspects, I have a few slides on this. I will not go through these slides, but just I want to point out that equally important is to include sociology of emotions. And I have given names of some theorists who have Husserl is one, and these are other people, and they have contributed to sociology of emotions in their own ways. And the foundation of sociology of emotion is that there is not one sense of rationality or emotions. It depends on one theoretical stand. Sociologists have used terms like utility, rationality, emotion, affect, sentiment, mood, etc., with varying meaning. So if we are doing research or if we are involved in consultancy, we have to define our concepts very precisely. Sometimes a distinction is made between the above terms, utility, rationality, emotions. Sometimes no distinction is made. Those who work on emotions or stereotypes or prejudices cannot avoid the reference of Irving Goffman and his dramaturgical approach, according to which, to quote, while in the front stage, people perform their roles by communicating in scripts and performing acts that consist of sequences of behavior and interaction. All performance unfold in a particular context or setting, the scene for a particular audience. Of course, no individual can present their public face every moment of every day. Now, these concepts, front stage, back stage, script, role, scenes, acts, and audience and culture, have been clarified or extended by researches done by other people. And some of their products are concepts like surface and deep acting, feeling rules, displaying of emotions. This is, I'm quoting from one study, that if I pretend I'm feeling really up, sometimes I actually get into the passenger. This is from a study done by flight attendants at 30,000 feet height. How do flight attendants manage their emotions? So if I pretend I'm feeling really up, sometimes I actually get into it. The passenger responds to me as though I were friendly, and then more of me responds back. So this is surface acting. Sometimes I purposely take some deep breaths. I try to relax my neck muscles. This is deep acting with the body. I try to remember that if he is drinking too much, he is probably scared of flying. I think to myself, he is like a little child. This is aspect of cognition. Really, that is what he is. And when I see him that way, I don't get mad that he's yelling at me. He's like a child yelling at me then. So in deep acting. So in the actual management of emotions and in acting, surface acting, deep acting by flight attendants, you can see that so many things are included. Management of emotions, management of expressions, and this requires understanding of cognition as well as management of emotion. Collins' example of rituals after this 9/11, what happens, how do people react to shocks. Uh, that study can also help the managers understand the results of accidents, traumas, uh, unexpected but crucial events uh, in industrial setup. And one of the very useful concept I found is the concept of emotional labor, and this is by Roxana Harp, who says that the blacks, uh, there are many blacks um, who have occupied prestigious positions in US universities, but they have to uh, do a lot of emotional labor to create good impression, because there is a discrimination and students think that blacks cannot be good teachers. So there is an emotional management, emotional labor. Mothers engage in emotional labor. Black professors engage in emotional labor. Our managers, our supervisors, our workers, our environmentalists, our movement, those who lead the movement have to do a lot of um, emotional management, and there is a cost of that. That cost is emotional labor. And to quote, when I first started teaching, I felt as though I had to be almost perfect. A teacher is also a manager. Now this teacher, this black professor, is managing his classroom. And even the first couple of years here, I would misspeak in terms of making a mistake. I always felt as though students would stereotype me. So I always felt as though I couldn't make a mistake. I always felt as though I had to be perfect in terms of the content of the lecture, the delivery of the lecture. And I just think that if we have more black faculty members who are here, Latino and otherwise, I could feel increasingly the freedom to not be perfect. Now, this feeling that I need to be perfect so that I leave as good an impression on students as white professors, that is part of emotional labor they have to engage in. So we have some of these concepts can be applied in managerial sociology, and there is also a concept of emotional deviance, emotions that violate the social norm, emotions um, whether you are in a position of political leadership or industrial management, or you are owner of the company, or you are engaged in collective bargaining, or you are an expert, you are a sociologist, uh, there are appropriate and inappropriate emotions to show in different socio-economic, cultural, religious contexts, and they have to be understood. So then sympathy. What is sympathy? Sympathy, another concept. Why I'm mentioning these concepts? Because I think that the old cognitive and Max Weberian rationality-based models are not adequate to deal with situation in the times of transition, or in postmodern society, or in contemporary society. And therefore, these concepts of emotional labor, emotional deviance, sympathy, stereotypes, for which more of qualitative researches will be required, not survey-based or empirical researches. Um, uh, so a different epistemology, a different methodology, a different framework for managerial sociology may be required. Stryker's framework of structural symbolic interactionism is one such. Symbolic interactionism is about micro level social interactions, and to be a good manager is to understand and manage micro level interactions, for which structural symbolic interactionism theory could be of great help. So we should talk about these things. If I fail to talk about all these things in my lectures, I have at least given you an idea, a framework in which something new like managerial sociology has to be developed, which could be of immense use to managers. Thank you very much. Let us develop a more inclusive sociology for the use of managers in industry and service. Thank you.